Hello everyone, welcome in to my YouTube channel. This is Jennifer Linnerman Art, and this is, I would say, probably my first voiceover video, and I hope that you guys enjoy watching me put together this beautiful landscape painting. It came from this photo here. This is a photo I found on Pastels. And I currently am teaching landscape painting with pastels and mixed media. And so each week we choose a different photo reference, and this is going to be actually this week's photo reference. And then what I usually do is I turn them into black and white. I use this awesome app. If you guys don't know about it, you should totally check it out. It's called Value Study. I can put a link to the app in the description, and this helps me figure out the values, and you can change the value shifts anywhere from like 2 to like 15. I usually stay within the like 2 to 5 range, especially with students, because I don't want to overwhelm them with too many different changes in values. So I usually go back and forth between this black and white version or the grayscale and the color version. And so the video that you are about to see, you will see me using a couple of different techniques. Initially, I'm going to be using a complementary color, sort of like initial sketch / underpainting, and then I use what's called 70% Isopropyl Alcohol. It's rubbing alcohol. I'm sure you guys know or have seen this. It comes in like 90% also, but I use the 70% because it dries a lot faster and there's a lower flash point. Like if you're going to travel with this stuff, I think the 90% has a higher chance of kind of like exploding. So yeah, we don't want that to happen. Anyways, I'm just, I'm learning a lot myself. And so this is the type of rubbing alcohol that I will use for the underpainting, because what happens is we put down our layers of dry pastel, and then what we usually do is either use but most of the time we use a paintbrush dipped into like a little bowl or something of this rubbing alcohol, and then we go over our sort of initial layers with the rubbing alcohol, and that helps to just kind of like set the pastel into our substrate. In this case, I started off with kind of like a denim blue Pastelmat, and you'll see in the video how I did that. I did that actually using a water brush. I thought I would try something on my own by filling up this water brush, which normally I usually just use this filled with water, but I thought, oh, you know what? It's a paintbrush. Why not try it? So I did, and I put the rubbing alcohol inside here, but you'll see it kind of squirted out everywhere. I thought it was going to be more controlled, but it actually ended up being less controlled. So next time I think I will probably, actually from here on out, I will definitely be using just a paintbrush dipped in the rubbing alcohol. And then once that dries, you have to let the rubbing alcohol completely dry before you then start to add in your subsequent layers with the with your mixture of pastels. And from there on out, it's just basically, layers. It makes anything look beautiful and nice. This is what we're after here. We would need to include a bunch of differences in line weight, meaning, these sharp these branches are thinner line weights than the vertical trunks are of the trees. These are thicker line weights. Then we have, with the pastels, you can see some of these shapes here, which are just, me taking the pastel. If you haven't ever seen a pastel stick, so this is the kind of pastels that I use for something like this. And I use a mixture from different brands, all the way from Sennelier to Jack Richardson to Terry Ludwig, NuPastel from Prismacolor. What else? I'm just looking at my collection. That's mostly it. I do use from time to time some Rembrandt, some Mount Vision, Unison. The list goes on, you guys. The NuPastels for my initial sketch, and you'll see that in the time lapse, come from this little, these are hard pastels, and this is a Prismacolor brand. It looks like this. And these are really nice to use for your initial sketch. They're a little bit harder than the other pastels, like the pastel I just showed you. And that was what I did with this painting. I did my initial sketch with kind of like this sort of like reddish orange hard pastel. And then after that was done, then I used this water brush, which is filled with the rubbing alcohol, went over my lines just to set it into the Pastelmat, and then from there I added in my layers, and you'll see it in the time lapse, going back and forth and adding in a bunch of layers, yellows, greens, blues, so forth. It was super duper fun, and I hope you enjoy this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Okay, thanks for listening. Bye. Here is my Pastelmat, and I'm using like a reddish orange NuPastel, which is like a hard pastel, to do my initial sketch. I was going to try to do a little complementary underpainting because the photo reference I was using is very green. So I'm just kind of filling it in quickly with the orange NuPastel. And then the blue is just where the sky holes are peeking through. And then the reason why it looks wet is because this is rubbing alcohol that I put inside a water brush. It was an experiment. You can use just a regular paintbrush dipped into, it's 70% rubbing alcohol is what I used, but I just thought I would try it, putting it in my water brush, which actually I didn't really like the effect. It was a little bit more uncontrolled than I wanted, so probably next time I'll just use a regular paintbrush dipped into the rubbing alcohol. And then after it dried completely, I started looking at my photo and just started, adding in the layers. This is where the fun comes in. So I usually just choose something that kind of pops out at me right away, and that's where I kind of start. I did initially put in some darker greens to just kind of establish some of the darker values, but then the photo itself had a big bright yellow, like the leaves there in the middle, and that's where I kind of wanted to start. And then I started adding in some of the, the reflection from the sky onto the ground cover. So that's where the white is. And then I continued to bounce around by adding in some of the trunks, again using like a dark, sort of like bluish green color for those deeper values. Also because that's a complementary color to some of the yellowish tones. And continuing to build up the layers with, now I'm starting to look at some of the different green tones. So there's a bunch of different colors from let's see, yellow, orange, blue, and green. That's kind of most of the colors, color family that I used in this painting. And all the time you can see how I'm kind of like, going around and around and around with the painting process. Now I'm almost to the end, so I'll show you the end result in just a sec.